For most of human history, life unfolded without electric power. Days and nights were shaped not by switches or outlets, but by the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons, and the limits of human and animal strength. Light came from fire, oil, and flame. Power came from muscles, wind, and water. Time itself moved at a different pace. Before electricity, societies were organized around natural rhythms. Work began at dawn and slowed as daylight faded. In winter, evenings were long and dark. In summer, labor stretched late into the light. Homes were designed to trap warmth and sunlight. Streets emptied after nightfall, not from preference, but from necessity. Cities and villages alike depended on localized systems. Water was drawn by hand or gravity. Food was preserved through drying, salting, smoking, or fermentation. Communication moved only as fast as a horse, a ship, or a human messenger could travel. Information was scarce, slow, and often outdated by the time it arrived. Fire was the central technology of daily life. It cooked food, heated homes, provided light, and powered early industries. Maintaining it was a constant task. Flames could not be left unattended. Fuel had to be gathered, stored, and rationed. A single mistake could mean disaster, as fires regularly consumed entire neighborhoods. In these world, darkness was not a background condition. It was an active force. It limited productivity, shaped social life, and enforced rest. Night carried real danger, especially in dense towns where lighting was poor and emergency response was slow. The absence of electricity did not mean a lack of innovation, but it imposed firm boundaries on what societies could do and when they could do it. This was the baseline condition of human civilization for thousands of years. A world powered by nature, constrained by daylight, and dependent on constant human attention. As populations grew, the limits of a non-electric world became increasingly apparent. Larger cities placed heavier demands on fuel, food, and labor. Firewood supplies thinned near urban centers. Animal power reached biological limits. Water wheels and windmills helped, but only where geography allowed. Urban life intensified these pressures. Dense housing made fire a constant threat. Smoke filled streets and interiors, contributing to chronic illness. Waste removal relied on manual systems that struggled to keep pace with population growth, leading to contamination of water supplies and recurring disease outbreaks. Work itself was physically exhausting. Most labor depended on repetitive human effort. Manufacturing was slow, inconsistent, and vulnerable to weather and daylight. A cloudy day could reduce productivity. A harsh winter could halt it entirely. Economic output was tightly bound to natural conditions beyond human control. Social inequalities became more visible under these constraints. Wealthier households could afford better lighting, more fuel, and additional labor. Poorer families lived closer to darkness, cold, and hunger. Access to light, heat, and time became markers of status long before electricity formalized those divisions. Information bottlenecks added another strain. News traveled slowly. Decisions were made with incomplete knowledge. Governments ruled territories they could barely communicate with. Markets operated on delayed information, increasing risk and inefficiency. These pressures did not produce immediate transformation, but they accumulated steadily. Societies adapted where they could, improvised where necessary, and endured where change was impossible. By the early modern period, the limits of pre-electric life were no longer abstract. They were experienced daily, across households, workplaces, and governments. The world functioned, but it functioned under strain. Long before electricity entered daily life, societies searched for ways to push beyond natural limits. Mechanical ingenuity expanded wherever reliable energy could be captured. Water wheels powered grain mills, sawmills, and early factories. Windmills drained land, ground flour, and supported agriculture in flat, open regions. Lighting slowly improved, though never cheaply. Candles made from animal fat or beeswax extended productive hours, but at a cost many could not afford. Oil lamps burned whale oil, olive oil, or later kerosene, offering steadier light but introducing new dependencies on trade, extraction, and global supply chains. Timekeeping became more precise. Mechanical clocks, once rare, spread through towns and cities. They imposed regular schedules on work and commerce, reducing reliance on daylight alone. Bells marked hours, meals, and labor shifts, reshaping how communities understood time itself. Industrial processes began to concentrate. Workshops clustered near rivers or canals to access power. This geographic dependence shaped early industrial towns and limited where growth could occur. Production increased, but only within narrow environmental constraints. These early shifts did not eliminate darkness, fatigue, or physical strain. Instead, they redistributed them. Certain industries became more efficient, while others remained bound to muscle and flame. The gap between urban and rural life widened, as did the gap between those who benefited from mechanical power and those who did not. These systems increased scale without simplifying life. More goods were produced, but at the cost of harsher working conditions and deeper reliance on fuel extraction. Power became something generated elsewhere and delivered, not something produced within the home. The structure of modern industrial society was taking shape before electricity completed as non-electric systems expanded. Scale became the defining feature of late pre-electric life. Cities grew to sizes unimaginable in earlier centuries. London, Paris, New York, and Berlin passed the million-resident mark, while still relying largely on muscle, steam, gas, and fire. Supplying these populations required immense quantities of material. Tons of coal were burned daily to power factories, heat buildings, and fuel gas lighting. Food had to be transported from increasingly distant rural areas by horse, canal, and rail. Water systems moved millions of gallons using gravity and steam-driven pumps. Labor forces expanded alongside these systems. Factories employed thousands of workers operating machinery that demanded constant attention. Domestic service became one of the largest forms of employment, as middle and upper-class households relied on human labor to replace what electricity would later automate. Lighting statistics reflected the limits of the era. Even in major cities, most streets remained dim. Gas lamps were spaced widely and extinguished late at night to conserve fuel. Inside homes, light levels were a fraction of what would later become normal. Reading, sewing, and detailed work strained eyesight and limited productive hours. Despite industrial growth, per capita energy use remained low by modern standards. Every additional unit of output required disproportionate increases in fuel, labor, and coordination. Growth was possible, but inefficient. The system worked, but only by pushing human bodies and natural resources to their limits. The numbers revealed a world operating at maximum capacity without a fundamental change in energy distribution. The demands of pre-electric life left clear marks on the human body and social structure. Fatigue was widespread and persistent. Long working hours, limited lighting, and physically demanding labor produced chronic exhaustion across classes, especially among industrial and agricultural workers. Health outcomes reflected these conditions. Indoor air pollution from coal fires, oil lamps, and gas lighting contributed to respiratory illness. Poor lighting damaged eyesight. Cold homes in winter weakened immune systems. Injuries were common in factories where machines operated without modern safety controls. Domestic life carried its own burdens. Daily tasks such as laundry, cooking, and cleaning consumed hours of manual effort. Water had to be hauled. Fuel had to be managed. Food preparation required constant attention. These responsibilities fell disproportionately on women and children, shaping family structures and limiting educational opportunities. Sleep patterns differed from modern norms. Many households practiced segmented sleep, resting in two phases divided by a period of wakefulness during the night. Darkness encouraged rest, but discomfort, noise, and fire maintenance often interrupted it. Despite these constraints, communities developed strong social bonds, shared labor, public gathering spaces, and synchronized daily routines fostered interdependence. Survival required cooperation. The absence of electric convenience reinforced reliance on neighbors, extended families, and local institutions. The human cost of life before electricity was not uniform misery, but sustained physical effort embedded into every aspect of existence. Faced with these limits, societies adapted through habit, architecture, and social organization rather than technological escape. Buildings were designed to maximize daylight and airflow. Windows were large. Ceilings were high. Streets followed patterns that balanced shade and sun. Daily routines adjusted to conserve energy. Heavy labor was done early. Midday pauses were common in hot climates. Evenings were reserved for tasks that required less light or strength. Seasonal rhythms dictated work intensity, diet, and social life. Institutions evolved to manage scarcity. Markets operated on fixed days to concentrate exchange. Religious and civic calendars structured time, coordinating labor and rest across entire communities. Public lighting, where available, was regulated carefully to balance safety with cost. Skill and craftsmanship flourished under these constraints. Manual expertise compensated for the absence of automation. Repair culture dominated. Objects were maintained, reused, and valued for longevity rather than convenience. Education and literacy advanced slowly but steadily. Reading often occurred in daylight or communal spaces. Knowledge spread through apprenticeships, lectures, and print, shaped by the physical limits of light and time. These adaptations did not remove hardship, but they made life predictable. People understood the boundaries of their world and organized themselves accordingly. Stability came not from abundance, but from alignment with constraint. The pre-electric world was not simply replaced, it was absorbed, its structures hidden beneath new layers of power. Life before electricity was not defined by darkness alone, but by balance. Human activity existed in constant negotiation with time, weather, and physical limits. Progress occurred, but slowly. Change was measured in generations rather than upgrades. When electric power finally spread, it appeared revolutionary only because the constraints it removed had been so deeply ingrained. The silence of night vanished. Distance collapsed. Labor shifted from muscle to machines that could run without rest. Yet the habits formed before electricity did not disappear. Work schedules, city centers, social hierarchies, and even ideas of productivity were carried forward. Modern life still follows paths laid down in an earlier, dimmer world. Understanding life before electricity is not an exercise in nostalgia. It is a reminder that modern systems rest on centuries of adaptation to scarcity. The world did not become efficient overnight. It was built patiently, under flickering light, within firm limits. The electric age stands, not as a beginning, but as a turning point, one that makes the long human experience before it easier to forget, but impossible to erase.